Also, I might not have been clear about what I hope to accomplish by exposing all these elements around homelessness or creating victoriabcprofits.ca. Um, but here's the thing, right? There are some corrupt people working in these charities, in these homeless shelters, and they are sucking up all the financial resource and they are misusing and misdistributing the resources. And basically, building awareness and holding people accountable is what creates change. Okay? What kind of change could come of building this awareness? Well, let's think. First of all, it changes many dynamics. One, the community and the public. It educates them, it changes their perspective about homelessness, homeless people. Seeing a sober guy that spent 15 years, homeless in the streets that wasn't using drugs is an astonishing thing for the public and the community. That would really change their perspectives on, is it really the individuals that are to blame for their drug abuse and their lifestyles that they chose to live, not knowing the background and the fact that these people were forced into criminal elements as children from their own parents and forced to be homeless as a teenager or a child, which exposed them to criminal elements and influences of drugs. And when you're a child or a teenager, you're easily influenced in the wrong manner. This is why we need parents and family. If the community and the public were to know this to be true as a fact, coming from someone that's been through it, maybe that would change the perspective of the community and the public, which would lead to further action from the community and the public. That's the community and the public side. Now, that also directly and indirectly affects the charities and the corrupt organizations that are using homelessness as an opportunity to profit and capitalize financially and give themselves employment opportunities and not give the homeless people any employment opportunities or any employment programs or withhold the majority of resource from them intentionally to keep people deprived in a state of scarcity, to keep them homeless, so that way they can continue to get paid and generate millions of dollars and generate wealth for themselves, because that's what's really happening. If the public were to know this, they would probably stop supporting. If these specific individuals that are guilty of these things in these organizations and charities at the top levels started to get exposed on a mass level scale, and the entire community started to have shifted their efforts and shifted their perspective, it would also draw a lot of attention to them, and they might even get put under investigation from the CRA, from charity data, whatever, so on and so forth. They might have to produce more financial evidence that they're not participating in fraud. This doesn't commonly usually happen, right? But if enough awareness was built and enough people in the community and public started to question and demand, them to prove themselves, it could cause them to either be caught for what they're doing, or it could cause them to resign so that way they don't get caught. They escape accountability. I have also seen this happen. It's weird because now that I've started all this campaigning against these organizations and charities, it's so weird that I've noticed in the news out here in Victoria, a couple of big names have all of a suddenly resigned after 28 years of working at Kool-Aid or working at our place. Alan, there's the other female. Something's weird about that. Maybe the heat is getting too hot for them. Maybe they're starting to realize that people are starting to figure out what's going on, and the only way that they can escape the wrath and the accountability that might come to them is to resign, because they are no longer participating. They've already benefited as much as they needed to benefit financially from this pyramid scheme and doing what they were doing wrong, and now they can resign, and that detaches themselves from the accountability of that organization or charity. Now, when you get rid of those bad apples, it leaves space for other people to take. Maybe people that have better intent, maybe people that are more self-controlled when it comes to, being tempted by finances and looking for ways to exploit situations in order to gain monetarily, in the name of community work and poverty. What's the word? Whatever. Anyways, helping, correct poverty, or, contributing to these social issues, right? It can open up opportunity for new people to take those positions, but even know that you got to understand the hierarchy of these situations, like even government, they choose who takes that chair now. They come together and decide who is going to take that position, which they need to find somebody that's in with their whole pyramid scheme and that can, hold that position to continue that process. But there's a chance that the well might be drying up on them and it's not even worth it for them anymore and they have to resign. And regardless, these things need to happen as a foundational thing for anything else to take place. That's the foundation. First and foremost, this needs to take place, and it never has. Okay? This is going to create real change. The way things are structured may change, but I know one thing for sure, and it's not going to change if these things are not done and addressed, called out, exposed, awareness built around them, pressure being put on people that are supposed to be responsible for these charities and organizations on different levels of the organization, different organizational levels, because there is some dishonesty and there is some fraud. It's not a conspiracy. It's been on the news. BC Housing has been caught, and their affiliates, and they have their hand in a lot of this stuff and a lot of these organizations. Everybody's connected, eh? And like I said, I've witnessed, some of the CEOs at our place bragging about their multiple vacations that they take. I think that they're overpaying themselves. They're paying themselves more than doctors. Now, recently, someone that I spoke to that might have a little bit more understanding of how a board of directors works, because I am not fully educated on exactly how a board of directors operates. And apparently they don't get paid, but somebody's got to get paid. Okay. So, and when you look at the charity data and you click on staff, you can see the 10 top highest paid employees, and a lot of them say 160,000, 200,000. That's more than a doctor in Canada. Okay. It's unnecessary. I get it. You've done work, you deserve to get paid, but not that much. And you really don't deserve to get paid if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing for the social cause and issue in the fucking first place. Because the only reason why you have that job, or you can raise these funds, or be in charge of these things, or even have that salary, is literally to contribute to the improvement of that social issue. And if you're not doing that, you should not be there, and you should not be getting paid, period. Not to mention $200,000 a year, $160,000 a year, $120,000 a year. No, wrong. And okay, we're not putting up with it anymore, and we're not tolerating it anymore. As people that have been injustice, that have went through homelessness and been abused by the same establishments, shelters, organizations, and charities that claim to be there to support poverty and homeless people, to the community and the public that has been supportive in many different ways in the community, financially, and have given their own labor without pay to try to assist these shelters and organizations and charities in providing for the homeless. Meanwhile, they're not even providing for the homeless. They're not even providing the bare minimum. I was starved of and deprived of what I needed, to survive when I was going through homelessness. Every day I was worn out, wanted to die, tired, nowhere to sleep. City bylaw threw my tent out multiple times, costed me thousands of dollars, which they should be sued and they should be paying me back now. Okay. Um, and they made my life so much more difficult than it needed to be when all I was trying to do is get out of homelessness. And I was a sober person. I don't use, so I don't want to be in shelters where they enable drug use and they supply it and they help it and they encourage it, and it's nothing but drug use everywhere you go. That is a bad influence on a sober human being. And it's a bad influence on the people that are going through addiction as well, because how can you overcome addiction if you're constantly surrounded by it? How are you going to overcome a drug if the drug's around you 24/7, 365? You can't. You won't. You have to be isolated and removed and completely blocked from being able to access your drugs, your access to drugs, or anything else in between, in order for you to finally be defeated in your addiction and have to get dope sick, withdrawal, dry out, sweat it out, cry it out for 3 weeks to 3 months, and then finally you become chemically balanced again and you're no longer addicted or chemically dependent on these highly addictive drugs that the government distributes in the pharmaceutical industry, okay? So, come on. Like, let's be realistic. Let's be real. So, here's the thing, right? So, the system and the way things are designed is the main primary cause of homelessness, is the main primary cause of long-term, prolonged, unnecessarily prolonged homelessness, okay? I had nowhere to shower, nowhere to eat. I went to the Salvation Army. They said you have to come here every single day at 1 p.m. to put your name on the list, and at the end of the week, we will let you know if you can get a bed or not. I'm like, bro, I have nowhere to sleep tonight. They're like, sorry, this is how it works. Blew my mind. I was like, this can't be possible. And that was supposed to be the most sober place to go. So now I'm forced to go to Rock Bay, or our place, where it's just crawling with people that are using, going through addiction, criminal elements, stuff like that. And the government and the system itself is contributing to it, creating this culture and allowing it on purpose. So that how is anybody going to get into homeless? Nobody is. No one's going to get into homelessness. Nobody's going to overcome their addiction. Nobody that's sober that becomes homeless is going to get back out of it, because they're going to get trapped in that and realize that there is absolutely no way for them to function in an efficient way long enough for them to overcome homelessness, get a job, get a place, and get themselves out of that mess. People resort to tenting to avoid these elements, to not pollute themselves with these influences, and they try to stay out of trouble and stay out away from that stuff. And then the city bylaw comes and throws your tent out. And then they do this to people that try to hide in the bush somewhere, and they try to hide and stay out of the public view, out of the way of eyes that are looking to steal other people that are, going through addiction and drug use and stuff, that are there's thieves and stuff like that. Not everybody that's homeless is a thief. A lot of homeless people are not thieves, and they're not drug addicts, and they don't want to put themselves at risk of having all their stuff stolen. The city forces you into a situation that you have to lose. They came up with these designated areas where you need to tent, and you're not allowed to tent anywhere else except for these designated areas. Now, these designated areas were always in a wide open space in a public area where everybody can look at you and judge you. The community around you can look at it and be disgusted by your lifestyle, and be disgusted by the fact that they see tents and homelessness all over the city. The city is the one that did that. The homeless people were trying to hide in the bush and all the bushes and all the cracks and crevices of the city to stay out of the view of the public, to not be judged and ridiculed, and also to not be picked apart by thieves. Okay? And I would hide my tent. City bylaw would find it, crawl through the bushes, find my tent, and dismantle it and throw it in the fucking garbage with all of my clothes in it and all my documents that I needed to get my ID. Okay? What the fuck? How is anyone going to get out of homelessness? They're not. Then I had nowhere to sleep. I went to all the shelters and they were all full. And it was in the winter time. So now my life is at risk. I'm about to die. Here's where the criminal elements come into place. Okay? You just boosted the crime rate by doing that. Now I am in a real survival situation where I could die. And now I have to consider potentially breaking the law, stealing, or breaking into a building or a house or something where it's warm to survive. Then jail becomes a better option than being outside, being homeless and almost dying. So you know what? It would be a luxury to break the law right now. If I get something out of it, then I get to survive. If I go to jail, then I get to survive. Excellent. Perfect. This is the system. This is the city. These are the charities. These are the organizations. These are the shelters. And this is the systematic oppression and corruption that exist, that is contributing, causing homelessness, boosting the crime rate, and causing people to die. That's a fact. This comes from 15 years experience across Canada being homeless, 7 years in Victoria, BC. You can go to victoriabcprofits.ca and see other people's testimonies in the forums. Ex-employees, people that have overcome homelessness, and people that are still going through homelessness, experiencing corruption and abuse from the staff at these shelters and charities and organizations. So it's not a conspiracy. This is really how it is. So the first step is to build awareness, turn the community and public basically against these corrupt entities, which will force change to happen, force people to resign, force them to utilize funding correctly, because then they may be questioned legally, they may be challenged, they may be sued, they might get some lawsuits. It's not good for them, okay? So it's going to change things by force. And that's the only way that you can change this, is by force. We've already tried to create all these programs and all these different things that cost millions and billions of dollars that were ineffective and didn't work and does not affect the actual homeless person alone. It just creates more fucking jobs for everybody else except for the homeless guy. Okay? That's the truth. That really is the truth. Whether you would like to admit it or not, that's the truth. So my hopes is by doing all of this, it's going to cause people to resign. It's going to cause real change. It's going to cause change by force. And that can open up real and new opportunity and take the hand in the grip off of the monetary flow around homelessness and let it be utilized correctly for the first time ever. And then you will start to see human beings thrive, prevail, overcome homelessness, overcome mental illness, overcome addiction. First of all, there's only like 2 or 3 rehabilitation centers in Victoria, BC. If they really wanted to, fix homelessness or attack addiction, first of all, there would be more facilities. It's not like the money and the resource isn't there. It's more than there. Okay? Hundreds and millions of dollars get generated per year in Victoria, BC. Go look at the financial tab on victoriabcprofits.ca if you don't believe me. Okay? So there obviously is something wrong. Okay? Somebody is doing something wrong. It's not one person. And it's very interesting to see that the CEOs of all of these different places like the Salvation Army, ARC, and Victoria, BC are actually hanging out and friends on Facebook with the guys that the CEOs that operate our place. And it's really interesting to see the people on that operate and the CEOs of our place are friends with people on Facebook that operate Kool-Aid. It's interesting to see that everybody knows each other and they're all hanging out and taking vacations to Paris and bragging about their multiple vacations and their multiple houses and their nice lifestyle and everything. I'm looking on their Facebooks, by the way. I'm fucking seeing you guys on your Facebooks. You know that, right? I'm hearing and seeing what you're saying, the pictures you're taking, the lifestyle you're living, the quality of life you're living versus the quality of life that I was living when I was homeless and the lack of basic needs and everything I needed to survive. But you guys are generating millions of dollars and taking multiple vacations per year and going to Paris. Amazing. fucking amazing. There's no excuse for it. It's intentional, and it needs to be exposed, and it needs to be addressed, or else there will be no change. And all of your little efforts, okay, you little organizations that think you're doing something, are useless, because it's like having a plastic bag with 3 poke holes in it, or 100 poke holes in it, and water leaking out, and then you're putting a patch on 3 of them thinking you're doing something when there's 98 more holes in the fucking bag. You're not doing anything. Okay? The only way to do anything is to do it the way I'm telling you to do it. Okay? And that's because I know, because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been working for organizations advocating for homelessness. I've been several organizations. I've seen how they operate. I know how they get funding. I've gotten inside intel from ex-employees of the Salvation Army, okay, of Our Place, of Kool-Aid, and Rock Bay. If you guys really want to play games, I will pay these people to do a video interview, and then I will pay money to advertise these videos. I will completely destroy your reputation. You are failing the community, the public, and you are killing the homeless. But at the same time, smiling on an interview on Global News, saying that you're doing great community work and you're winning awards and holding them in pictures. Grant, from Our Place, it's disgusting. You people are sick, okay? And I'm not allowing it. You're not going to step on me. I almost died out here as a homeless, sober person. I almost died. I was dying out there, and I couldn't understand why I was being treated poorly from the shelter staff. Every single shelter I went to, I couldn't understand why they were so evil for no cause. I couldn't understand why there wasn't enough resources, why there wasn't enough food, why there wasn't enough. I couldn't even get a blanket in the winter in December when all the shelters were full and the city threw my fucking tent out. Now I'm in a survival situation. I went shivering like this, walked to Our Place, walked to Rock Bay Landing, went to the Salvation Army, and I asked them for a blanket. All of them said, sorry, we can't do that. That's when I knew. That's when I knew the truth. And I said, you motherfuckers, when I fucking get out of this, you guys are fucked. Here I am. I got out of it. Okay? I'm not homeless anymore. Okay? I'm chilling. But you know what? I am not taking my foot off your neck ever again. Even if I get kicked out of the city somehow and they get rid of me somehow, or they get me out of my housing, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll survive it. Because if I went through that shit, and where I come from fucking Hamilton, Ontario, if you can survive in an environment like that and do everything that I've done and not fold to fucking drugs or alcoholism, that takes the most strength and willpower that any human being can produce. But I'll tell you something, it doesn't come from me, and it didn't come from me. It came from God directly. It was the Holy Spirit and the power of God that gave me the ability to overcome every adversity that came against me, because God used me as his truth to confront you and expose you for what you guys are doing, destroying and killing and mass genocide against God's people, the lost, broken, the lame, and the meek. The meek shall inherit the earth. VictoriaBCProphets.ca. That's what I'm doing. That's what I hope to accomplish. Okay? Thanks. Corey Resilient. Share this video.